This week on the podcast, we're going to dive deeper into the social dimension of wellness, touching on not just our bodies and our minds, but also how our relationships with others impact our overall well being. I'm Quinn,
And I'm Drew.
and this is the year we got better.
Well, welcome back. If you're new here, Quinn and I are on a 52-week journey to improve our holistic wellness, and we are taking you along with us.
Hell yeah, we are. This week, we're going to talk about the social dimension. And to kick it off, Drew, I wanted to ask you, what does the social dimension of wellness mean to you?
Let's see. I mean, there's multiple facets to it. There's friendships, there's family, there's romantic relationships, there's co-working relationships, there's
Totally.
sports team relationships. Like we can really just slice and dice this a bunch of different ways. I'm very excited for this one, especially after our conversation last week, which personally I loved, but I think both agreed it was a little heavy.
Totally.
So we're gonna hopefully have a little bit of levity to this one and make it fun. But what does the social dimension mean for you?
Well, I agree, Drew. I think that it's like last week we were focusing on that emotional dimension and we got in deep, and I think the social dimension can be a really more like light, just kind of one that it can come a little easier in some ways.
Yeah. Well, it can be light, but then I also think, depending on if you're having struggles with it, it can also not be light. So hopefully during this conversation, we can unpack that a little bit too.
That's so true. Well, the social dimension to me, I think is just all about like creating interconnectedness with the people around us. And I think like to be well in that social dimension looks like having a robust community of people around you. And like you said, that can be your friends, it can be your family, you know, can be your partner. But all of those people together make your community.
Hmm.
And you also need to be an active part of that community.
Yeah. And maybe another way to phrase this is like social wellness for me personally means finding the balance between those different social
Hmm.
relationships so it serves me and my overall wellness, right? Like we've talked about this with some of the other dimensions of wellness before, but the idea of an equal distribution
Hmm.
between all of the different relationships in your life or social relationships that you have in your life, I don't think is realistic. You ultimately have to prioritize what's important to you, where you spend your time, how much you're communicating with different people. So, yeah, I feel like finding that balance is probably the right answer that I would provide.
I think that's really well said. And I think that's even more so true as adults than it was when we were kids. Like in our adult lives, we have so many different responsibilities to juggle, and all these eight dimensions of wellness, right? But also just in a more like granular kind of way. It's like you have to go grocery shopping, you have to
Yeah.
work 8 hours a day, many of us do. Maybe you have kids that you have to take care of. Like there's so many other things that I think can get in the way of the social dimension and
Hmm.
can make that take a back burner.
What would you say are some common misconceptions about adult friendships specifically?
Gosh, I think that's a great question because I do think that friendships change so much from our like childhood and teenagehood into adulthood. And
Yeah.
I think the most obvious reason for that change is just that our lives in many ways like just have fewer responsibilities when you are younger. um
What I would not do to just go back for a day.
I think that sometimes, but I also just simply love doing what I want to do on my own terms.
I mean, that is a huge benefit, right? And obviously, we don't have a choice in the matter, but like, I think I'm on the same page with you. I wouldn't want to go back and give up my autonomy.
Now, like I would want to go back for nap time.
You just have to do what I do, which is nap on your own time.
That is true. And listeners, I would like you all to know that Drew does nap almost every single day.
I try
And
to.
if you feel like this might be like a concern about his health, like it's literally not. There's nothing wrong with him. He just chooses to nap.
I stand by. Napping is fantastic. I recommend it to everyone. Napping gets too much hate, and I don't think that that's fair.
Who is hating on napping?
I think the person I'm sitting across from is, I'm indirectly referring to you.
No, that's true. I am a napping hater, but it's just because naps make me more cranky.
Yes.
Anyway, we've gotten off on a tangent.
Hmm.
Redirect back to we were talking about
How we have fewer responsibilities when we're younger.
right, and how that kind of impacts our friendships as we go into adulthood. I think that there's this like portrayal. You know what the biggest myth I've heard about adult friendships is like watching the show Friends. Like who are these people?
My favorite part about this is when you go to somebody else's house to have breakfast.
No, who is
How is,
doing that? Like, Are they up at like 6 a.m.? They have like multiple dramatic events before they go to work in the morning.
Well, and I guess another example, if we're going to keep going down the Friends line of thought, is like Central Perk in like the third place and just spending hours
Hmm.
upon hours in like this random location, just
Like
hanging out and
hanging out with
talking,
your friends,
which
which
sounds fun.
no, it really does sound fun, but I also think it actually wouldn't be that fun for me.
Hmm.
Like I'm an introvert, like I need some time by myself, and also being in a marriage, like I want and need some time just the two of us.
Right. Well, I guess this is kind of one of the, we're hitting on another one of the
Hmm.
misconceptions, right? Which is that like, say you're like in high school or you're in college, you're a young
Hmm.
adult, you might have like there's a how do I want to phrase this? Like if you're in that phase of your life,
Hmm.
there's probably a likelihood that like having more social relationships is going to be fulfilling to you,
Right.
right? Like I think back to like my college experience. You've had
Hmm.
said similar things about your college experience. Like you had so many friends and you
Yeah.
enjoyed being in that friend group and you spent all of your time
Oh
together.
my gosh, yeah. I look back on college and I feel like I was kind of living that life. Like I would get breakfast with my friends
Yeah.
before class. I spent every second that I was not in class with my friends.
Yeah. So you transition into adulthood. You now have responsibilities. You have other commitments.
Hmm.
You have your partner, your
Hmm.
relationship that you're in, where you need to devote energy to that. You have work. You have all of these things going on. I think how much you're able to devote in any given day or week really is going to vary. And the idea that you're going to be able to have a consistent output that's at the same level that maybe you've had at previous points in your life is just, I don't think, realistic for an adult relationship.
And I think Drew, you perfectly hit the nail on the head with that, because I think that is like the misconception, right? You have this idea of what friendships look like from even as you get older and you're a young adult, like in high school, in college, and then you go out in the world and you have a career, and your life just doesn't look like that anymore.
Yeah.
And it's not possible. But I think sometimes we can, or at least I can, like beat myself up about that a little, right? Like I feel like, oh my gosh, I need to be putting more effort into my friendships. And
Yeah.
while I do think it's important to put effort into our platonic friendships, I also think that it is unrealistic to be like, another great example, How I Met Your Mother, be
Hmm.
like, I'm gonna hang out in the bar with my friends every night.
Right. Which, I mean, there might be phases of your life. You might, as a listener, you might be in one of these phases of your life
Hmm.
now where that's something you're able to do, and that's great. And I don't think the point of this conversation is to say that this is like universally true for anyone.
Totally.
I think for our experiences specifically, like this has been my experience, is that
Hmm.
I've noticed this transition with myself as I've gotten older and kind of
Hmm.
gone into a different season of my life. But
Yeah.
um, yeah. Are there any other misconceptions that you have thought about with adult friendships that you want to share?
I think that something that gets a lot of this might be a hot take actually. I think that something that gets a lot of like discussion is friendships with people of opposite genders. I'm somebody who does have a lot of guy friends, and I think that when you are younger, people are like, "Oh, well, you're not like just friends. There's always something more." Like I just don't believe that.
Yeah.
Um and especially being in like a marriage, I think that it's a misconception to be like you can only have friends in your same gender, or in your same, depending on your sexual orientation. I think that can kind of like shift how you would phrase that. But
Sure.
I just think that's totally a misconception. And I think as you get older and you're in a secure relationship, where you trust the other person, like I do think it is totally normal to have relationships with people, friendships
Yeah.
with people of the opposite gender.
I think one other, well, one, I totally agree with that.
Hmm.
Maybe one additional misconception I would probably share would be I think when you're younger, there's so much societal pressure, you feel social pressure to have as many friends as possible
Hmm.
and to be liked by your peers,
Hmm.
right? Like, I almost feel like it's a little bit of currency when you're
Totally.
younger to be like,
It's
how
the
much.
it's the popularity, like your social capital.
Well, think about like Facebook followers,
Hmm.
Instagram followers, like quantity
Yeah.
is something that we have deemed to be important,
Hmm.
but it's very superficial. And I think a misconception, maybe not a misconception, but just an evolution of what social wellness looks like as you age is depth more than quantity.
That is also so well said, because it totally is. Like, I think you shift as you grow up from this mindset of I want to be liked by everyone versus I actually don't care to be liked by everyone.
Right.
Like, I'm going to find the people that I jive with and that jive with me.
Right. Like, what good is it to be liked by everyone if you don't like everyone?
Right. I mean, I'm sure there are some people, and maybe one of them is listening to this podcast who like really genuinely likes every other person. I don't know. I mean, maybe there's not. I don't like every other person. I'm actually becoming more of a hater as I
Yeah.
get older.
Well, I mean, I think you learn more about yourself. You learn more about like what fills your cup up. Like,
Yeah.
you only have so many hours in the day. I am kind of the mindset, and again, this sounds a little bit cold, but I'm like, why spend your time on people who are like not gonna make your life better, or who you don't want to try to make their lives better? Like,
I agree.
what's the point?
No, you only have time. It does sound cold, but I think it's just realistic. Like, you only have time for so many friends.
Well, and there's a difference between being like actively rude to these people and just being, pursuing a deeper friendship. Like, I think it's okay to have acquaintances,
Totally.
but
I think I think also one of the other kind of misconceptions or misportrayals of adult friendships has to do with proximity.
yeah,
And I'm really on the sitcom train right now, I guess.
yeah,
But you think about How I Met Your Mother and Friends, and these people like live right across the hall or like in the same apartment as their friends. And yes, like it is normal to have roommates,
hmm.
but also something that I've experienced in adulthood is my friends kind of spreading out geographically.
What has that ultimately contributed to for you in terms of what your friendships look like?
Well, I think it really kind of forces the issue of like who are the friends who put in the effort.
Yeah,
Because when you're not, geographically close to someone, I think that you have to go more out of your way to sustain that friendship.
hmm,
And I think that the people who don't do that or aren't willing to do that, or if you find yourself like not willing to do that for somebody else, like maybe that's a sign that that friendship really wasn't like as deep as you thought it was.
yeah. I mean, that's like an unfortunate reality, but I do
Yeah.
think that there's truth there. It's interesting because I feel like there's like, I think more of a broader conversation about like understanding of a long distance relationship in the
Hmm.
context of a romantic relationship. I don't think there's as much discourse about long distance friendships and what
Yeah.
they look like, and how do you make that work?
I mean, that's a really interesting point. And I think the general societal ethos, although obviously there are exceptions, is that long distance relationships like don't work.
Yeah.
I am not an expert, nor am I a psychologist, nor am I at all qualified to talk on this.
I mean, really, you could say that about anything we talk about on this podcast. So just don't listen to us. That's really what we're saying.
That's so true. We are completely unqualified to talk about anything. No, I mean, we're qualified by like virtue of being human.
Yes.
Um,
Sorry, continue.
so as a human, here's my perspective. I think that, long distance relationships, your romantic relationship, there is so much that you are asking your romantic partner to be in your life. I actually think this sometimes is a fallacy, right? Because you can't expect any one person to be everything for you.
Yeah, I don't think that's a reasonable expectation at all.
But I think that asking someone to be so many things for you is part of why long distance relationships like can struggle because it's much more difficult to be all of those things when you're far away from somebody.
This is so well said on your part. Like, I think you've like completely captured it, that in a friendship, you're able to lean on others, maybe in a
Hmm.
way that in a romantic relationship where you're requiring more from that relationship, you can't necessarily offload or redirect those needs to other people.
Right. And in some cases, like if you want your romantic partner to be able to fulfill all of these needs for you, like then maybe a long distance relationship is not for you.
Yeah.
But I think that in terms of like the friendship thing, it's you're rarely asking as much from that person as you would a romantic partner.
Hmm.
And I think that's kind of an important distinction. Have you experienced the, geographical shift in your friendships?
I have. Yeah. I can think of a few examples, but one of the things that I think is very important in this transition, well, one, I think it's important to clarify my long distance friendships started as like close proximity friendships,
Mine did too. I wonder if it's like I feel like it's much more unusual to have a long distance friendship that has always been that way.
which would probably be more like a pen pal situation.
Sure.
But yeah, given that that has kind of been the origin story of
Mhm.
some of these friendships that I have, um, I think it's important that you be on the same page about like what your preferred medium of contact looks like, what your frequency of contact
Mhm.
looks like, and just kind of like what again, I don't want this to sound so rigid that there's like a rule book that you have
Hmm.
to follow, but I do think that like you need to be on the same page with what communication looks like and what your needs are out of the friendship.
Definitely. And I think that when you're on different pages, that's when one person starts to feel like slighted or
Yeah.
the other person starts to feel overwhelmed by the friendship. There are
Yeah.
kind of two sides to that coin as well.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily to say that everyone needs to be perfectly aligned, but I
Hmm.
think you need to recognize what the other person needs and also explain clearly what you're able to give.
Definitely. And I mean, this is going to be true of every relationship in life ever. It all comes down to clear communication.
For sure.
And that is true in platonic friendships, romantic relationships, family relationships. I mean, just literally everything.
Yeah. Well, you've kind of experienced some proximity changes in your
Hmm.
friendships. I mean, a lot of your college friend group has spread out all over the country.
Yeah, they have. And it's really weird because these are people that I used to see every single day.
Hmm.
So we forged those friendships in super close proximity. But now it definitely takes more effort to keep up those friendships. But to be honest, like I'm happy to put in that effort.
Yeah.
Because these, people are really important to me. And I'll use the example, I think like she's been shouted out on the podcast before, but one of my best friends, Caroline, she lives in Colorado and she, moved there in the last couple of years. And that was a big shift. Like I really miss seeing her more frequently, but I also think that in some ways, like that has forced us both to think about like how much do we want to put into this friendship.
Yeah.
And the answer is it is important to both of us.
Hmm.
Like we talk on the phone every other week. We really do make an effort to keep in touch.
Yeah.
I think that you have to do those things or inevitably it kind of fizzles out.
Well, this kind of, I think, even applies to not non long distance friendships or
Hmm.
relationships. As you become older, you need to be more intentional
Hmm.
with the effort and time that you're putting in to maintain a relationship. Like
Yeah.
I think back to like when you're in school and if you become best friends with the person that's sitting next to you, you sit next to them every day.
Right.
So it's just like just by showing up, you're kind of in the situation to do what you need to do to maintain that
Right.
relationship.
You're participating just literally by doing what you were going to do anyway.
Yes. As an adult, you have all these other things thrown at you, and then you layer on like hundreds of miles of distance
Right.
between it. You really need to be intentional with it.
Yeah. But I think it's so worth it, like when those people are important to you.
Absolutely.
And I have many, long distance friends also because I grew up in Massachusetts, but now live in Maryland. So I have friends from childhood who are still in Massachusetts. My sisters are partly in Massachusetts. One of my sisters is in Virginia.
Hmm.
Like there are so many people that are spread out, but like the people that, I care about and who also I think importantly will put that effort in for me.
Yeah.
I'm like enthused and excited about investing in those relationships.
Yeah. Definitely. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit in the
Hmm.
conversation. We've talked about our personal experiences. I want to get into like the tools and tricks of like Quinn's social toolbox. So, what is something that's small that has had a big impact on your social well being?
Something small that's had a big impact on my social well-being. I mean, one of the things is just saying no. And maybe that sounds cold or, whatever, but I think that as an introvert, like I am not able to have plans every single day and I don't want to. So I think that at the same time, I think that I have a tendency to be like a people pleaser and I want to be like, oh, of course, like I'm always free to hang out, whatever you need, no problem. But ultimately, like that negatively impacts my mental health.
Yeah.
So I think that learning to say no and setting some boundaries with that has really been crucial and also like improves the quality of when I do see my friends because I'm not exhausted and like ready to go home from the moment I get there.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say this kind of goes back to like one dimension of wellness affects the others. If
Hmm.
you're unnaturally putting too much emphasis on the social dimension, you might be neglecting your physical dimension or
Right.
your emotional dimension. And that's ultimately going to harm the social dimension in the long term. It's just going to take a little while for it to come back around. So,
Totally. I mean, it's all interconnected. I feel like we kind of have touched on how the cups, the dimensions. I like the cup metaphor. They can be filled not always equal at all times, but ultimately they all do need to be filled.
yeah.
And I think it's also important that like they flow into each other, right? Like they impact each other, not just, you know, your overall wellness. Like one dimension can impact another.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're kind of talking about the different tools that we use in our social relationships, but it's also important to remember that the social dimension is not just platonic friends.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of send that question back to you, Drew, but I'm going to give it a spin. What tips and tricks and tools do you use in the like romantic sphere of your social dimension? And by the way, that's me. Like no one else should be in your romantic sphere.
Hopefully, you know the answers that I'm going to give because if I've done this correctly, you should know.
Hit me with it.
But all right, my biggest tip for building relationship strength, romantic relationship strength, is maintaining the importance of date night.
Date
I
night is like sacred in this house.
We talked about it a little bit last week,
Mhm.
but and I acknowledge we could be better with it. I
We
feel like
totally
we
could.
unfortunately let this slide a little bit, but there is a huge difference between just living with someone, being married to someone, and then like
Going on date night
going on date night.
and having like dedicated time for the two of us.
Yes, I just feel like we're able to have conversations that like wouldn't have had the opportunity to like get that deep.
Hmm.
Or it would have been much harder for us to get that deep.
Well, it's just purposeful. Like you said this word before, and I think this is one of my favorite buzzwords, but intentional. It's intentional. We're focused on connecting versus being in the same space, but not with being intentional about connecting with each other. I actually want to give a shout out. I feel like part of, I don't know, my inspiration at least for sanctifying date night is my parents, my dad and my stepmom. They are religious about date night.
They are.
Like, actually, I aspire to be this religious about date night, but every single Friday, they do a date night and it really does not matter what else is going on. Like they make it
Yeah.
happen. And I really respect that. Like I think that is an incredible commitment to each other. Their date night is so low key these days. They've kind of gone through phases of like what they would do. But their current date night is just that they like order pizza and watch a movie like
Yeah.
in their bedroom. They lock everyone out of their bedroom. They're like, "Bye." but but I think that's so important and I think that, when we talk about investing in our romantic relationships, it's all about putting in that intentional time and effort.
Well, and I also think it goes to show that like date night doesn't need to be expensive.
Totally.
Date night can just be blocking off the calendar, saying we're going to go off of our phones for
Hmm.
3 hours. We're going to cook dinner together.
Yeah.
And I'm going to like sit down and I'm going to like talk to you about our plans for the weekend, or I'm going to talk to you about work today.
Or like our big dreams and goals.
Hmm. And maybe we can watch Great British Baking Show to conclude the evening. Like it can take on a lot of different forms. You
Mhm.
can have the big date, you can have the at-home date. It's just important that you're doing something. Well, I love talking to you about our romantic relationship. I also love talking about the more conceptual things when it comes to the social dimension of wellness. So we're going to try something a little bit different this week.
Yeah, we are. We're actually really excited about this, guys. So
We're calling
hope
it
you're excited too.
we're calling it rapid fire. We're going to do rapid fire questions. So I'm going to hit you with these. Don't think, just answer.
Okay.
All right. So the first is, what's your favorite way to reconnect with someone?
Ooh, I love that question. I mean, obviously, it depends on who that person is. But one of my favorite ways to reconnect with someone and just to put in some effort is writing a letter. I feel like I've talked about this on the podcast before. I have a weird obsession with the like U.S. Postal Service, but but I love sending mail. I love getting mail, and I love picking out a card that I know someone is gonna like and sending it to them. I feel like it's just so like it really just warms my heart when I get that. And I feel like doing that is a great way to show someone, like, hey, I'm thinking about you.
Yes. I think you need to put in a little bit more effort than sending a text, and that effort comes through when the other person gets to open the mail.
Totally.
The next one, what is a mistake that you have made in your social wellness dimension?
A mistake that I made in my social wellness dimension, that is so hard. I think that I'm kind of recycling an answer here, but I think that saying no is so beneficial to me. But before I kind of became better at flexing that saying no muscle, I think I went through a phase in my like early to mid 20s where I was a bit flaky. Like I would just say yes to plans constantly and then end up canceling plans constantly because I was like, I'm so exhausted. I can't do this. I need a night to just relax. So
Yeah.
I think that that probably didn't help my friendships at that time. And I'm sure that was super annoying for people who
Yeah.
like had made plans with me. Sorry if that was you.
I know this is rapid fire, but I'm going to like share my answer
Ooh, okay.
here. I think my mistake that I've made in the social dimension is like beating myself up when
Mm.
like I've gone through different phases of like having more or fewer friends. in my friend circle. Like,
Hmm.
I think I've made the mistake of comparing myself to what I should, quote unquote, have in terms of friends.
Yeah.
And my needs change over time. The quantity of friends that I have changes over time. It's really just whatever works for you.
That's so true. It's like there's not a recipe or one size fits all. Like, as always, this is so unique to you personally.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm taking over. I'm
Okay.
taking over rapid fire. So, my first question for you um, is in the social dimension, what is a small gesture you love that makes a big impact?
I never would have thought to do this on my own, but this has been 100% because of your influence.
Ooh,
So I'm like very grateful for everything that you have kind of like imparted onto me and the wisdom that you've shared
wait,
with me through
that's
our
really
relationship.
sweet.
Yes.
What's the gesture?
Um, I like doing like tiny little, like teeny tiny little gifts or acts of service.
Hmm.
We haven't really talked about the love languages in this episode. It, I think, is somewhat related. We can honestly do an entire episode just on that.
Totally. I love languages.
But one thing that I like particularly like doing for you is making your coffee in the morning.
Yes, and it's so sweet. It's just like a little ritual that means so much to me.
I think the important distinction here is like if you're going to do a small gesture to show someone that you care, it needs to be something that's important to that person.
Yes.
Like if I was just like, Quinn, I'm going to like wear like a tank top so you can see my guns in the house, like that's not going to be the thing
I
that's
mean,
going to like
actually, that sounds awesome.
but I mean it's a bad example, but you kind of get where I'm going with this. Like
Yeah.
I know that in the morning you like you could benefit from a cup of coffee.
And actually, this benefits both of us.
Yes. Yeah. So like I know that that's something that you appreciate.
Hmm.
I know that like you're already in the like work mode at this point.
Hmm.
It's like the least that I can do. It makes me really happy to do it for you. I
That's so
also
sweet.
like playing with our like electric foamer, like milk frother.
Yeah.
It's fun for me. I like doing cold foam on your
Hmm.
iced coffee.
I know you're like a barista in the making, honestly.
It's fun. I just like I like doing like tiny little things to show that I care.
And I think that it really means a lot to me, so it does not go unnoticed.
Yeah.
Okay, rapid fire question 2. Drew, during this 52-week project, how do you hope to improve your social wellness dimension?
I am the worst texter in the world.
You're so not with me, but I believe you.
I'm so bad at replying to people. I'm also really bad about initiating conversations. So
Hmm.
really I'm just bad at communicating. Is what we've realized. But I really through this process want to just try and be more intentional and set aside the time
Mhm.
to reach out to the people who are important to me and just try and open up the lines of communication or continue the line of communication if someone has reached out to me. I have like a horrible habit of opening up a text, reading it, being like, I'm in the middle of something, I'm going to reply to that in like 5 minutes, and then I forget, and then it's 2 weeks from now,
Right.
and I feel weird just going back and being like, I'm great. How are you? Like, like,
Yeah.
but I also think there's other ways to go about communicating, which I often lean on texting as like the first
Hmm.
line of reaching out to somebody, but I I kind of want to take a note, pun intended, from your book and apply like handwritten notes or calling or different ways to reach out to people.
I love that. I think that's really well said. And I also think that, that kind of forward thinking like lens is the perfect place to transition into what we did this week.
The weekly recap.
It's time. So as you guys know, we are investing in all 8 dimensions of our wellness each week. And we're kind of doing that. We're kind of just taking notes of what we're doing each week. So we're both going to open up our journals and we will start, as always, with the physical dimension.
Yeah,
Go
we
for
will.
it, Drew.
I am going to preface my entire recap by saying that I did a horrible job with everything this week.
Okay, that is that is not true, but
I
like also same.
I planned so poorly. I had a really busy week at work. I just
Mhm.
like we traveled. Like
Yeah.
I did not spend as much time as I should have. So I'm disappointed with my answers, but be forgiving toward me.
I also think that like it is okay for not every week to be perfect.
Yeah, and I guess that's probably the point of this
Hmm.
experiment or
Yeah,
exercise. But anyway, to answer your question for the physical dimension, we continued with our Couch to 5K.
that's mine also. We completed week 5, so we did our 26-minute long run. And this coming week, we are running a turkey trot on Thanksgiving.
Yes, at the time of recording this, we have like two more runs.
Hmm. Yeah, one more practice run and then literally the turkey trot. So
Yeah.
wish us luck.
Gobble, gobble.
Oh my God.
Sorry, I had to.
I respect it.
All right, next is emotional.
For the emotional dimension, actually, okay, I don't hate all my answers because I'm really excited about this one. I read this book called Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, and it's by Lori Gottlieb. I'm going to hold it up so people who are watching the video can see it, but it was fan freaking tastic. I want to read the subtitle because I think that kind of sums it up. So it's called Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, a therapist, her therapist, and our lives revealed.
Give me your like 1 to 2 sentence review. Why should people read this book?
It honestly changed the way that I think about like myself as a person and my capacity for growth and change.
Wow, that's like a huge statement.
No, it was fantastic. Like it also was recommended to me by my stepmom and my therapist,
Hmm.
which I feel like is a winning combination.
Yeah.
My stepmom is also a big reader. But seriously, like this book was really fantastic. It kind of challenged me to change the way that I look at, taking responsibility for like my own life and actions, and also like getting the most out of therapy and being intentional about working on ourselves. I think there was like there's a lot to take away from this.
That's awesome. I really need to add that to my reading list.
You definitely should. Well, we own it now. So what about you? What did you do in emotional?
Womp womp. This is the one that I didn't have anything for emotional this
no.
week. I know. I feel so bad about it, but my emotional is feeling bad about my emotions.
No. That is no demerit.
I'm joking, but yes.
I think that again, like we can't all be perfect every week.
Yes.
Like it's better to do, something in some of your cups than to throw in the towel and be like, oh, I didn't do the emotional cup. Like my whole week sucks. Like you still did stuff in the other areas.
Well, I think this speaks to like I did almost bordering on too much in some of the other categories.
Right.
Like it was a struggle for me to find the time
Right.
to even like to think deeply about what I wanted to do
Mhm.
with this. I was just kind of like trying to get through the week.
I get that. I think that kind of leads us right into the social category.
Yep.
So I think we had a lot of shared things, but Drew, tell us a little bit about your social dimension this week.
We had the awesome experience of going up to Boston
Mm-hmm.
to see some friends and some family.
Yeah.
And it was just a great opportunity to, well, one, I love Boston as a city. I think it's so fun.
Me freaking too.
Yes, it's your hometown. But yeah, I mean, it was great to see some people who we haven't seen in a long
Mhm.
time. Just like had like great conversations, like awesome fun. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of like build on that, specifically, we went to Boston because we were visiting one of my childhood friends and her husband who got married a month ago. And I was supposed to be one of her bridesmaids, but in a tragic turn of events, I had like some major like health issues with my kidney situation the weekend of her wedding. So we missed the wedding, which was literally awful.
Yeah, it was rough.
It was so rough. But I'm so lucky to like have amazing friends because this friend Lee, she put together like a fantastic, we're calling it wedding part 2, for Drew and I to kind of get to experience everything. Like
Yeah.
she did their table settings and, I wore my bridesmaid dress. She wore her wedding dress. We took some cute photos. We went to dinner at the place that catered their wedding. So it was just a really like special experience.
Yeah.
And it was great to see them. We also saw one of my sisters. I also had like multiple phone calls with my sister this week. So I think that the social cup was really full and it felt really renewing and rejuvenating for me.
That's great.
Yeah. But I do agree, Drew. Like sometimes, even when it's like in a positive way that you're
Mhm.
filling one cup so much, it definitely does make it harder to meet those other dimensions.
Yeah, and to be clear, I don't feel like I like was missing anything in my
Mhm.
emotional cup this week.
Mhm.
So I just think if I did this every week and every week I traveled and ignored my emotional dimension, I probably would start to have some issues. But 1 week of this is not causing anything.
Well, I think that's an important thought. Like, it's like sometimes some of the dimensions take a back seat because what you've done in the surrounding weeks has set you up for success. Like you're in kind of a stasis there.
Yeah. So let's move on to our next one, which is intellectual.
Surprise, surprise. I've read another book.
I'm getting bored of this.
Oh my
I'm just
gosh,
kidding.
that's so mean. Well, I'm never bored of reading.
This quest for self-improvement is exhausting.
No, I read another book for my intellectual dimension. It's called All We Ever Wanted by Emily Giffin. And it was really good. I actually think that I've started this book before and like not finished it maybe. But it was perfect because maybe you should talk to someone was a bit more like serious, I would say, like
Yeah.
at times heavy. Um, so All We Ever Wanted was much lighter, but it was also very timely and like thought provoking. It was a light, quick read that still packed a punch, which I think is a really good balance.
That is a great review as well.
5 stars.
You're just on fire.
What was your intellectual dimension?
So my intellectual dimension this week was the same as my occupational.
Got you.
I mentioned that I had a very busy work week. One of the things that I've been doing is investing a lot of time in like a new professional skill development,
Mm.
specifically in like AI. And I've just been learning a lot of new skills and uncovering a lot of tools that I haven't really had a lot of experience with. Trying a bunch of new things, like getting outside of my comfort zone.
Mhm.
It's been great.
That's amazing. I think that building skills in like the workplace is such like we said before, there are things that touch on both dimensions and it really is both like intellectual and occupational.
Yeah.
What about the creative dimension?
So my creative dimension this week was tangentially related to our social dimension.
Ooh.
When we were doing wedding part two,
Mhm.
our friends Lee and Zach had tile painting as an activity at their wedding.
Wait, no, like this is so cool. They are just the craftiest, most creative people.
Yes.
And I thought this was such a fun way to like make some memories. But sorry, Drew, go ahead.
Yeah. So the whole concept, as you know, was that
Mhm.
we were given a tile, we had paint pens,
Mhm.
and given free reign to just do whatever we wanted on the tile.
Yeah, and they're gonna actually use these tiles to like tile like a portion of their hallway, which I
Yeah.
think is so freaking cool.
Yeah. So I just kind of like let it rip with two different tiles and just did make like random designs. And
Yours were really cool.
thank you so much. So was yours. But I had fun with it. Like I think it was I haven't done anything like that. I don't think I've ever done anything like that before. I've done like pottery painting, but
Sure.
um I don't know. I really enjoyed it. It was a fun opportunity to just be creative for the point of being creative.
It was really fun. No, that was really fun. I was a little down to the wire with my creative dimension. So when we were in the airport on the way back from Boston, we had some time to kill before our flight. So I wrote a Medium article called "In Defense of Semantics."
Hmm.
If you know me, you know that I love words and I love language. I was a linguistics minor in college. I've been a copy editor, a copywriter, a wannabe novelist. Language and the way we use it and the words we choose are so interesting and important to me. So, just for funsies, I wrote a Medium article about that topic, and that was kind of my creative thing.
That's great. I love that you're like finding other, I mean, you do this all the time, but I love the ways that you're able to apply your passion for writing that are like new and fresh.
Thank you. It was fun. I think that sometimes there's like a bit of a, I don't want to say misconception, but in the creative dimension, I think I reflexively think of like visual art,
Hmm.
but I definitely think that writing for me is also a big creative, like, I don't know. It's also a big creative pursuit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our next dimension is financial. What did you do this week?
My financial one, okay, at the beginning of this podcast, I was like, I'm going to do something new and noteworthy every week. Well, newsflash, I'm not. No, I kind of just continued on with the money diary that I've been working on, which was logging all of my spending. And again, this is an idea that I got from the Financial Feminist book by Tori Dunlap. This is not like my original idea.
Tori's actually behind. She's come on out, Tori. No, I'm just kidding.
I wish she is so cool.
I feel like we reference her so much on this
No,
podcast, but
I know, literally. She should sponsor us, please. Or she could be a guest. Tori, if you're listening. Just kidding. I don't think she is. But anyway, yeah, I've been doing the money diary, which has really helped me kind of think about my spending. And I've been doing it for 2 full weeks now. So I also did Tori's journal prompts that were about like 2 weeks in, some reflection questions. And I found
yeah.
that really helpful to pinpoint like what of my spending brings me joy and what do I look back on and be like, well, that wasn't necessary.
Yeah. I also love the fact that you have the emoji reaction as a part of this, which honestly is like very helpful.
It is. Yeah. Like in my money diary, one of the categories is like feeling, like, how are you feeling about this? And I just feel like it's not so sustainable for me to write like a dissertation about how I feel about every purchase.
Yeah.
So instead of doing that, I just put a little emoji that's like how I felt.
Yeah,
when I made that purchase, how it makes me feel.
exactly. Honestly, how much could you write about like paying like for gas?
Yeah.
Like
No, that's so true. Well,
incredibly fulfilled.
what about your financial dimension?
So mine is a continuation of last week. I kind of
Mm,
share your feelings. I wish I could have said that I checked this off, but I've continued listening to the audiobook of The Psychology of Money.
mm-hmm.
It continues to approach this topic in many different ways and from different
Mm-hmm.
perspectives. The author's just a great storyteller, and I've enjoyed exploring the ways that financial decisions are made. And
Yeah.
sometimes we're not necessarily using rationale, or we're not using logic as
Mm-hmm.
our form of rationale in financial decision making. And also just saying that like you're not you're not atypical for having those behaviors. Like a lot of people do that and don't even realize it.
I guess it's kind of validating in a way.
Yeah, totally. And I also think it draws a little bit more attention to that fact. So
Mm-hmm.
like if you recognize it in yourself, you can be like, all right, that might be my inherent reaction or way
Mm-hmm.
that I would pursue this problem, but recognizing that, maybe I can take a step back and look at the greater picture.
I think it's kind of like your reaction versus your response, which is something
Yes.
that, is, I think, in like a therapeutic context is talked about. Like how your immediate response, maybe you can't control, but you do have the wherewithal to decide how you're going to actually like react to
Yeah.
something, or maybe it's vice versa. But either way, like you can't necessarily control your immediate feeling, but you can control how you like interact with it in the real world.
Yeah, absolutely. So I already shared my occupational
That's right.
for this week. What did you do?
My occupational is kind of like blah, but it was just that, this week, this is going to be released after Thanksgiving, but while we're recording it, we're right at the beginning of Thanksgiving week. So my occupational from this past week was just like working ahead because I really don't want to be worrying about, you know, deadlines and getting
Hmm.
everything done before, especially just because it happens to be like the end of the month. So yeah, my occupational was working ahead to make Thanksgiving week a little more flexible.
I love that. I feel like you're putting in the time to set yourself up for success.
Exactly. How about the environmental dimension?
This is also like a pretty loose one for me, but I'm gonna give myself like a partial like check mark
Okay.
in this one by saying that like putting ourselves in a different environment than we typically are
Hmm.
was just fun and like a little bit of like a psychological reset for me.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like you better believe I'm going to be saying this about like every vacation we ever go on, but um that was mine also,
Hmm.
which is visiting a place that I love, and also choosing a hotel that I love. We like really like this one boutique hotel. It's called Hotel Revolution in Back Bay in Boston, and we often will stay there when we go. And
Hmm.
I just think like I find it so like well decorated and just nice, and I really love being there. So I
Yeah.
think like going through life, we make choices about what environments we put ourselves into. Sometimes it is a choice, sometimes it's not. In this case, I was glad to have made a choice to be like, I'm willing to spend a little more to be in this environment that I really enjoy
Yeah.
and that like sets me at ease.
Yeah. Well, all in all, it sounds like we had a pretty good week.
I know, isn't that funny? We went into this being like our week sucked. But in reality, like we did invest in the dimensions, and the dimensions that we didn't invest in, we had already set ourselves up to be okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Well,
love that for us.
I do too. Well, I think this is probably a good place to call it wraps. As always, please like, subscribe, comment anywhere where you listen to or watch podcasts. Also, follow us on social media.
We can't wait to see you again next week. Bye, guys.